Making money ain't hard. Fixing this to know you gotta go there and get and do is was the difficult part. I do all of that all wrong because I wasn't true to myself. I want to be loved and I want to share love and I want to know what love is, but I want to know it real. But respect is deep. Respect can't be surfaced. And I had to learn that and I still learning it. A lot of people just look for things that can get out aggression rather than letting in peace. I don't fear what I've done in my past and I don't fear what's happened to me. I don't hide it anymore. So whatever I say, if you take it and run road with it, it don't affect me. You know, Barbados got a lot of classism in it in a way where if you dealt in something that was seen negative in the past, it stays with you for the rest of your life. The race that I am in Barbados ain't supposed to do no wrong. I found like the judgment was confused about who I was and how I was and why was I in this space and place. This ain't come because I trying to be. This is something that I was raised into.
What changed about you after becoming a father?
Parenting, right, is the most serious thing anybody could get into in life. Then a brawl I get into, then a business that I have started that I have feared more than how parenting is make your heart pump differently. Men also don't get a chance to talk to each other about parenting. I don't go to a father that was a father before me and say, talk to me about being a father.
Correct. What is one thing that you would have learned from your father that you either keeping or unlearning?
Till our days come, I know that I can continue growing and learning from this man. He allowed me to open up and tell me, Rasta, you could cry, brother. And I took away some of his bad traits. His male chauvinistic, nonchalant attitudes. Those are things that I've had to realize I gotta learn to change in me to make a better person of me.
My name is Matthew Future, and I'm the creator and host of Gems from Friends podcast. If you're new here, welcome to season 5, and make sure you check out the past seasons. If you're returning, thank you so much for your support. However, if you're not subscribed yet, please do so and click on the notification bell. It does a lot for this channel and for the other content creators in Barbados. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy this episode. Your event is called Meds, right?
Yeah, Meds.
Is only you?
No, I got a partner in it. I mean, it's history, no. But...
Oh, shoot. We could talk about that, right?
Yeah. Ain't history in a negative way. I just ended my event career.
Gotcha.
But it's, you know...
We can talk about that then.
We could talk about that. I mean, I could, and then I can tell you what it stemmed off and how it was created and that kind of stuff too. You know, my production company, Visual Island Productions, which my mother started here 33 years ago. My mother came here and started to do production. She was a creative director, so that's how I got in the industry. For the last 12 years, I've been working abroad with a other production company,
Right.
Shake Production, which is based out of Bahamas and the States. But I travel. I mean, I've traveled from Australia to Argentina doing production. So that's my main job, production. Events was just like throw a party. People liked it and it happened. And I went from walking on water to just because to meds, you know, event ways. Other than that, I got Apex Hookahs, which is the shisha company that provide hookahs for events and club spaces like Zoo. You know, and then there's other little bits and pieces. I worked in construction for a long time, and I also worked bartending and waitering from a young age in Boatyard and them places growing up. So I got a space. I had a water sports business when I was younger that I grew up into. So I went from working jet skis to owning at 17. So we got a few things we could talk about in all of them spaces, you know. So just to give you a little basic base.
I feel like you just do your own intro. What I might do is I can just flow straight into it. First of all, welcome. Thanks for coming.
I appreciate being here.
Yeah. So everything that you just list off, I want you to tell me who is Kaddesh without explaining business.
Who is Kaddesh? Is a good question because a lot of people and a lot of us don't think of ourselves in that way.
Yeah.
We could read a script of categorizing ourselves as this and I play tennis
Labels,
or not
yeah.
label, but really and truly for who I am is that I'm a supportive structure in many communities. And when I say community, I mean in household, I mean amongst my friends, I mean amongst my family's friends, my brothers and stuff, a lot of them that I help raise in ways and I'm a provider of jobs as I've been provided with jobs. I believe I could easily say this and not be questioned, an inspiration to a lot of people in a lot of spaces and places, especially in Barbados, but abroad. A lone wolf in a lot of aspects because I find as a person that has, or a lot of people might seem to be around, the path is be lonely when you're the person that is providing a lot of, whether it's work, whether it's comfort, whether it's motivation. You don't find a lot to look left or right to be there in the same breath because you're that person.
Yeah.
Like, find that's me.
Would you say that leadership comes with a little bit of loneliness?
For sure. For sure.
Eagles fly alone.
Eagles do fly alone, and when I said lone wolves, is that a leader pack is watch the pack. But the boy don't specifically watch the leader.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And I say that is not, I'm not saying there's not a lot of leaders around me and people that I see and respect and admire. Me, I look up to people in the slightest forms as well. My judgment level of people is very across the board. I don't care what job you do. I care about how your ethic is, and I care about how you deal with people and how you respect people. You could be a boss, have people working for you, and you see the happiness in the workspace. I could rate you and respect you for that because I know that as a person, you got genuine ways and beings, and a lot of people that come up in business treat people in a better manner, than people that have been given it on a platter, because they don't really understand what it has taken. But in reverse, I've seen people that have come up the ladder and treated people in a bad manner.
Right.
And I find that is because we have glorified the ladder too much. And we've glorified the struggle,
Could start early, boy.
We've glorified the struggle of making a hard life seem like that's what you need to be successful.
Right.
And for me, I ain't trying to put that platform out there for anybody, especially for the youngsters or anything. I think that we could help. We could grow generational wealth, not just in our household.
For sure.
And generational wealth is not just the dollars that you have. It comes
wisdom, knowledge,
and I would share that for free. And I learned that from my mother. My mother would do and give for free with no problems, especially knowledge. And I learned that, and I think that we don't need to be paid for everything that we know.
Right.
Communities grow stronger by the knowledge that is implemented in them, and it builds great structure to all ethnicities. It builds great structure to all genders. It builds great structure because it's a supportive system to make a better place and space to be in.
Right.
Everything that we are doing, especially if there's kids around, whether you have them or not, we have to think about the next generation coming up. Because a lot of ours did think of us in the platforms that they built, and some of them didn't with the lack of knowledge. So we got to be able to take that and feed our futures.
Because we standing on a platform that was created for us. So we can't be,
for sure.
We can't forget that part. So we have to leave it better than it was left.
We go and make it better.
Yeah. And you said something that I relate to, where when you use the wolf as a reference, that wolves lead from the back too. So you don't always have to be like out front and center, but you're just at the back and just watching the others move ahead.
For sure.
But providing as you go.
For sure, because that brings you along as well. Because as long as the front is going well, the back can stay course. you know.
What is the biggest misunderstanding about Kaddesh?
As I was growing up, I grew up in a household that was, I grew up in a militant household. I didn't grow up in a poor life. I didn't grow up in a rich life. I grew up in a militant household. I had a serious stepfather at the time.
Right.
That was a no joke business type of situation. And
So he was strict.
he was strict. And he was known to the street
Okay.
for what he did and who he was. And that carried to this day of how people judge me and my family, realistically. And even though he's no longer part of the family structure because my mother divorced him, you know, that carried a lot of weight in different places in good ways because it protected me in the street a lot of times, but also to the what we would call a pope or a public, you know, the systematic way of things. We were judged for a long period of time. You know, I'm not gonna hide it. I've been arrested several times, and that came with a very stereotypical mindset that ran to, even though I left a lifestyle and way behind me, it still carries to this day with some of the older generations that might see me. Or, you know, Barbados got a lot of classism in it, in a way where if you dealt in something that was seen negative in the past, the collar and tie don't leave it out. It stays with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You understand? And, you know, interesting enough, how that was judged upon me is because the race that I am in Barbados ain't supposed to do no wrong.
Right.
And even if we do wrong, we get a tap on the wrist and go along.
Right.
You understand? But I grew up in a household that was not my race. You understand?
Right.
I grew up in a household that was predominantly a black household.
Yeah.
So it was a lot, like I found like going in different spaces and places, the judgment was confused about who I was and how I was and why was I in this space and place. You know, Barbados goes off your last name. When I introduced myself with a strong Bajan accent, I was born in England. I moved here when I was 4. But I got a strong Bajan accent. You don't have, your last name doesn't resonate with any of this society.
Right.
So it was like, who are you?
What's your last name?
Preston. It's a full British last name.
British. Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. And so those things were interesting because it was a lot of counterbalancing of how I navigated life and navigated my way. I would say I started drinking like 7 years ago. Alcohol wasn't good for me. You understand? Because the fist will move fast. I don't take a lot of chat to get me react. And I changed that in my life because I realized that person, I was a great person that was influenced and did bad things. And a lot of them bad things was off of drinking alcohol.
The influence of
the influence of alcohol.
Right.
And when I stopped drinking, I lost a lot of people around me.
When you stopped drinking?
When I stopped drinking.
Right.
Because
the social
aspect, I still out sociably. And I'm entrepreneur in the business of socializing,
right,
of events,
yeah,
of selling alcohol. But I realized my crowd was drinkers. So when I start drinking, then we ain't got nothing to relate about.
Yeah.
So it was me moving on, not moving on and leaving them or their elevation, but it was me moving on, realizing that was keeping me anchored.
Correct.
To a space and place in life that was not good for me. And from I changed that, within the first 6 months, my life changed drastically because I realized that anchor was terrorizing me as a person, that was then terrorizing people around me and that not around me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I became like a bully.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't me. It wasn't who I was inside, because I'm a loving person. I'm a person to share my wisdom. I'm a person to bring people into work spaces and provide work for them to make better of them.
And that's unfortunate because you know, when you're drinking, that's a temporary feeling, but can have permanent effects.
For sure. I mean, it's had a permanent effect on my life.
and so it's things that you're still dealing with.
Yeah.
But you touch a lot of things, and I want to unpack a few of it. So you said you grew up in a household with Black people, Black culture. So you was a little bit confused. I want to get to part. What made you confused?
It wasn't really that I was confused. It was that people's perspective
Of you
of me was confused in its own way.
Right.
I grew up in the Rastafarian religion before I moved to Barbados. My father is a British man. My mother is a British woman who both were Rastafarian before I was born.
Right.
My father is deep into roots rock, reggae music, deep, played across the world as a sound man, played football with Bob Marley in the Commons in England. You understand? When my mother moved me to Barbados, we moved to a house that had a pit toilet and an old generator from a factory to give you a little electricity. So I went transitioning from a flush toilet to a pit toilet, from electricity to a radio with a small screen in the middle of it to watch Days of Our Lives at 6 p.m.
Wow.
So my life went from 4 to 5 years old, between that phase, a total different world, living in a chattel house. My mother had a company car, XR3i4 drop top when she left England. You understand? So my life transition. So I was already in a Rastafarian religion, moving into Rastafarian household here in Barbados. Two different worlds, two completely total different worlds.
Right. Right.
You know, our running water was tapped into the Porter's factory in St. James.
Right.
So, you know, our shower was
That's a big contrast.
You know, it's a big contrast. Our shower was a bathtub in the backyard, a paling backyard, with a garden hose and a shower head on it. When I first see the pit toilet, I was like, what going on here? Within 2 weeks, the police was driving up the driveway and raiding the house.
Wow.
In Suzuki Swifts and Land Rover Defenders, old ones. Because we talking about 20, I mean, we talking 33 years ago.
Yeah, so you're talking about in the 90s?
I talking about the hatchback Swifts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I came here like 91 or 92, around that.
Right.
To move into that kind of house. So it was drastic. And I grew up on the west coast of Barbados the first few years. My stepfather at the time had jet skis. That's how he met my mother. And he was a serious man. He wasn't a joker. He was a serious man. So he moved into a serious household. Right. You know? So the misconception growing up was that I moved into that lifestyle.
Right.
You know, and that's how I was raised. And I was raised around the local part the real local part of Barbados, and moving through the west coast to St. Andrew and that kind of thing. You know.
Do you think that when you travel, because you travel a lot, do you think that when you travel, people would be confused as your perception as well?
Well, I watched one of your interviews that somebody said, well, when they get on stage, he looked like a tourist and he opened his mouth and people want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
This accent, right, is so mesmerizing to people because it's island giving, but people, you know, we get the general stereotype of different Caribbean countries that you could be. I know Jamaica is a big one.
Yeah.
Right? But Barbados stands alone with a lot of recognition worldwide, but people are... I have to polite this accent some of the times, not to change it or try to talk American or try to talk... Because I have a full British accent. But I have to polite it sometimes because...
People won't understand.
I got guys that work under my wing that are Bajan. When I speak to them, some of my colleagues are like... I could say a few words.
Yeah.
What? So, you know, it is very confused. I do get I get a lot of people thinking different places of where it could be from. So yeah, they're very confused, but it's mesmerizing.
Do you ever get that person that would think that is inappropriate for a white man to got locks?
Of course. From I was a kid. From I was a kid. I mean, I remember going into Pori Spring and a Rasta man cussing out me and my mother. And he holds some blows for it. Because everybody knew that me and my mother was cool. You know,
Right.
it was Irie. It was blessed. Like, my stepfather, he time didn't take no back chat neither. But that's the truth of the matter is that being introduced to this religion, I mean, no, it's a pretty boy style in its own way because I would be not that any word, but I'd be lying to say stay true to the religion now in this day and age,
Got it.
right? But my family is still very much so. My mother is very much so. You understand? And yes, a lot of people, and it's become a style now. Before it wasn't a style for dreadlocks. Dreadlocks was frowned upon. You know what I mean? A lot of people got dreadlocks. Now it's cool. You got police officers that's got dreadlocks in these day and ages. But back then, yeah, I had a lot of lashback for it, and a lot of people stayed in it. You know, it was crossing the borderline. But how I grew up and how I was raised, like was raised into the religion.
Right.
You know what I mean? Respectfully. So this ain't come because I trying to be.
Right.
This is something that I was raised into. You know?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny though, because when it comes to race, I don't know, man. I just see everybody as one thing.
Right.
Right. So that it's only like sometimes like obviously when incidents happen, then yeah, it's click and so well, yeah, it's a different race, different skin color. But from the time I knew you, it never really registered in my head. Kaddesh is a white man. It never did. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
and I mean that in a way where I mean from a aura or a cultural way,
right.
right?
I can understand that way of saying it. And you know,
What I mean to say, let me clear it up. Like if I see you in an event or I see you doing participating in something that we would say, well, that's a black people thing. Like it would not. I feel you get the pass. Like, you get what I'm saying? That making sense.
It makes sense. I understand that. I mean, like, you know, for me, it's an interesting one because growing up here, I didn't grow up in the white community.
Right.
I didn't grow up in the beige and white activities.
Right.
You understand? I am a white man, born white man. I am.
Yeah.
I respect the culture. My children are mixed. My brothers are mixed. My other siblings are black. So really and truly, I sit
To the whole mixed pot there.
It's a mixed pot. We's a blending pot in my household. We's a blending pot with my household. I mean, if you
Yeah.
see my stepfather now, it's a beautiful dark man with a gray beard, and his aura is amazing.
Right.
And I know this man all my life, and this man is amazing. But really and truly, like I don't, as I said a little bit earlier, I ain't here to try to be.
Right.
You understand? And I understand what you said about the aura and stuff because that's the environment I've grown up around.
Exactly.
You understand? And I respect the culture. I respect the race. And I don't step out to my boundaries knowing that still I'm a white man.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So I don't let nothing go to my head to disrespect the order
Got
of race because the truth is, shave these off and cut my beard and put on a British accent and walk down the street. Anybody said it's just a white man going down the street.
Yeah.
You understand? And I ain't get away with it, but I stand for representation of truths and rights and love
Right.
amongst all. You know what I mean? And in a world that's in shambles and scrambles right now, it's crazy because if you don't, you know, a lot of time, if you don't speak up on something or say something, or you know, and my social media can get very expressive about what I don't like seeing going on in the world, and that's not just black or white. That's like generally, you know, whether it's genocides, whether it's what's happening in the States right now in California. I don't rate or respect that because it's against humanity.
Humanity.
It's against the human person, not just human rights, but it's against what's below this surface here that we have, you know. But I do respect you know, and I don't step out of line. You know what I mean? I don't use certain words because I think it cool and because I think that I sit well amongst the table. That ain't for me.
Right.
You understand?
Right. So you still got parameters.
I got
still got your
parameter,
boundaries.
and I know my boundaries in it, and I respect that. And I don't ever try to teach somebody a lesson upon that. You know what I mean? Do I have a lot of knowledge on it? Yeah, because I've been around it. You know what I mean? One of my best friends live in the middle of the pine. You know what I'm saying? But I was able in my younger ages to roam the streets freely in a way because of respect.
Right.
I respect that I just give. I come with respect first. Because I could get real disrespectful if I got to, but I come with respect first. It's how you choose to receive it. You know what I mean? So like I got my demographic is crazy that I sit amongst. You know what I mean?
Diverse.
And it's very diverse. Yeah.
What do you value more, love or respect, if you had to choose one?
The truth is, love could be real cool if you don't know what love is. And I know what love is from my mother, but love has not been present a lot in my space and place in life. And I learning love now as a father. I learning how to gauge love and give love, receive love. Because when it come my way, I put up a barricade. You understand? Which a lot of men does do. Because we got to toughen it up. You know what I mean? And I grew up having to know what tough love really was, right? Even my mother had to give me tough love because her ex-husband at that time wasn't allowing softness between my mother a lot of the time either, right? So respect is very important, right? Love is hard to gauge. You understand? Because respect shows its true colors in a different way than love to me. Love could be smoke and mirrors. Love could be faked. Respect is hard to fake. So respect is carry a sense of importance in my general day-to-day.
Got you.
I want to be loved and I want to share love and I want to know what love is, but I want to know it real. You understand? Somebody can't fake respect you.
It's true. Yeah.
The surface is dropped real fast when it comes to fake, but people could fake love you.
Yeah.
Easily.
Fake love.
You understand?
And they can't maintain that.
And you got longevity with that, yeah.
It don't last.
And it don't last.
The masters fall off at some point.
For sure.
You touch on something where men has got to toughen it up. You ever had to like battle that in this day and age, at the age that you're at now, in terms of like toughing it, or you have learned to like come out of that?
My presence does show up for itself, and I will say that, right? Is that when I turn up in a room, I'm felt, and that's just real, right? Some might say it's intimidating. I've heard that before, without opening my mouth, right? Because I can show up and I carry myself in a certain way, right? And that's, you know, where the funny part about this tough love thing is that I have a son. He's 4 years old. And I want my son to feel loved from his father and don't feel abused by tough love. And I gotta learn how to give him that with him still being tough enough to handle his day-to-day world, right? But not giving it the way that I received it. Because I could be tough for him and love him, but still know that he could cave to me, same way he might cave to his mother or his grandmother. Not fear me because I'm so rough and harsh and tough. So that's saying that I learning as a man because I ain't had that. But I don't want him, one, to be too soft, and he don't have to be too hard. He don't have to be too cruel and too, you know. I find that the world has got softer but harder at the same time, and there's a hard balance to gauge that.
Maybe it's soft and cold.
Soft and cold might be the better way to put it, for sure, because the world is getting real cold. But the tough love part of it, I think that I try to not live in that tough love. because giving and receiving has become harder too.
For sure. You don't know, because you don't really understand it when you're receiving it. So then you kind of like mistreat it, mishandle it.
For sure. And men ain't really got a lot of outlets to let it out. You understand?
What is one thing that you would have learned from your father that you either keeping or unlearning?
Well, the thing is, I had 3 father figures in my life. My father, who lives in England, who, unfortunately, when my mother moved me here, I had less and less time with. You understand? Because I would visit every year to see him. And, you know, he's a lover of music. Real cool, real airy, you know what I mean? But he's a grumpy British man. At the end of the day, right? So, we share the love for music, reggae music, like real reggae music. We share love for that. But, and then my stepfather, who was my mom's second husband, which is my brother's father. What I took away from him in the positive, I learned to use my hands. I learned to be able to do a trade, whether it's carpentry, whether it is block building. You know, we built our house from scratch while I was growing up. So from the age of about 8 to 17, we build our house block by block coming up. And I learn as I go how to put on galvanize right down to how to mix concrete. Those things were positive. How to work in the garden. I could grow fruit, vegetable. That's what we grew doing. It was our chores. Our chores was to work on our house. You understand? So walking away from that. What I would not take away from that he was an abusive man. You understand? I'm very ignorant. He wasn't nice. And I took away some of his bad traits. And I realized them more and more as I became a father, and more and more as and not the abusive trait, but more of his male chauvinistic, nonchalant attitudes towards the household and family, and the segregation of man and woman in a household, of what a woman's role is and a man's role is. So those are things that I've had to realize I got to learn to change in me to make a better person of me.
Right.
You know?
Right.
My current stepfather, I can't tell you that we're nothing negative from this man. This man come and became like an angel in my mother's life. After 2 prior marriages, this man is humble, smart, hardworking, you know, and I get a lot of wisdom from him. And till our days come, I know that I can continue growing and learning from this man. And in his past, he has stories of his past that might not be so pretty as well, but in the time I know of him being around our household, and he still is, I get a lot of wisdom. He's who I go to and confide to. I could cry to him. You understand? And as tough loved he is, because he's a tough one, he still said, Dash, let it out. Man could cry too. And sometimes we need somebody to cry to. Let it out. So me and he got a lot of things that we relate to.
Right.
You understand?
What changed about you after becoming a father?
Well, look, parenting, right, is the most serious thing anybody could get into in life.
Yeah.
I knew that before I became a parent, but I didn't know how more serious it was than I thought it was.
You don't know till you actually become it.
What changed about me is that I gone back to school in my mind, relearning.
Right.
Right? Because I got 2 children. I got a son and a daughter, right? And I would say this. I want my son to treat women and honor himself as a man, and women as how I want my daughter treated. And I want my daughter to respect a man and understand how she has to have self-respect. And both my children have self-respect as how I want my son respected and treated. Right? So I have to learn how to raise them in a way that they respect each other, so that when they grow and go out there, they cherish themselves and honor themselves, but they also respect the people around them or who come into their life without allowing them to be misused and abused in ways that I now learning to navigate away from, you know. But parenting is, there ain't nothing I do. There ain't nothing I do in my life. There ain't a brawl I get into. There ain't an accident I've been in. There ain't a business that I've started that I have feared more than how parenting is met your heart pump differently. real talk.
What is one thing you don't think fathers is getting enough credit for?
What's happened a lot of times, and you see this a lot on social media, is that the father has become a providing role, and that providing role model has come, or has become an attention to their children very later in life, because they don't have an understanding of it, right? So as they grow older, because it goes from buying toys for their excitement to understanding if you put enough down for a piece of land for them a house, right? And fathers that care enough to be around and be providers and lose time with their children, the equation don't get seen in a good light, because you get out there and go and get it to give, but you lose time. Right? And as you're providing, some people don't have the concept or understanding of money's presentation to the future and what it does. And if you don't have real concept of cost of livings and what cost of livings can equate to as they grow, fathers get pushed aside because you prefer to go to work than to be a father. But really and truly, that's what I'm doing as a father. You understand? Because the day you call and say, listen, this month, I can't handle it. Can't handle the bills. You just get categorized. You could take care for 10 years. Put $1 million in the bank account for 10 years. And the one day that you call and say, I can't afford.
Deadbeat.
You can get classified as something that you work so hard not to be. So I do feel, and I can say this here, right? The truth. There ain't a book that tell you the horror stories about being a parent.
No.
Right? They got a lot of glorification, a lot of forced parenting. Be a parent. That's what you roll in this earth is to be. Get children. It ain't scary. That's scary.
Yeah.
And a lot of men are not prepared, because the woman's nature is to have a child, right? Men want to have a child, to have somewhat in their own way, like a trophy, to bring up, this is my child, and, you know?
Yeah.
But don't really know what they're getting themselves into, right? And forced into a position of, whoa, because we mature differently as men and women. You know, there's different levels of that. I think of my children 10, 20 years from now. My savings plans for my children is when they get 18 and 21.
Yeah. To have a start.
You understand? Me buying land ain't for me. I live on it. I get some fruit on it, but I starting to nail in I nailing in the generational wealth aspect for them. Because my mother started it for her children, but I trying to start it because I have it from before. So, you know, we could talk about parenting and stuff. I mean, it's one of the most scariest things, you know, like, and it's hard. I'm a traveling father.
Yeah, yeah. And there's nowhere you could go to learn. Like, we could go to college. I had this conversation recently with someone, and you could go and learn about any trade, any skill, knowledge, and whatever technology. But we don't get trained for parenting. There's no, which is the hardest job.
Right.
Right. And then the other thing that you just say, you said, and I was thinking about leaving experiences versus collateral, like land or money or whatever the case would be. You know, there's some cases where you gotta pick. You just explain it where you may go to work, you gotta spend time away from the child in order to provide. So I guess it boils down to, what do you think is more valuable? leaving the experience and giving them the experiences that they need, whether it's like you might take that money and you go traveling and you just do different things, get them in different activities, that kind of thing. Or should you just work, put the money down so that they could have a better starter when they're 18 and 19 financially? So I go through it in my head and I think about it like, okay, if you had to kind of choose one, I feel like I will more go after the experiences. Like I will blow the money on the experiences because I could work hard, leave the money behind in the line, but then when they grow up, they could also lose that because of the lack of experiences.
I agree with that. I mean, that's saying that coming to a stage of understanding for me because my work ethic all my life is to work and gain and grow. I raised my brothers to some degree. Understand? My brothers would tell you, everything that I try to do is not for me. It's for us. It's a family, right? And I carry them for them experiences too. They might train out and everything with me, Jamaica, different places with me. So I believe there's a point where you could come to a medium of it, right? You might not get 10 acres of land, but you might be able to leave an acre and still get 10 experiences in 10 years. You understand? So I think that you got to try to balance it enough to give them a good start to the future. And don't, because them go understand that too and learn that too. You understand? And also be able to afford the ability to the experiences. But some people don't got that option either way.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's almost like a luxury.
For me, it's a luxury because I got it to give it. I might not drive a Range Rover, but my children can eat in Line Grove every single day without fail.
Okay, all right, I get you for that.
You know what I'm saying? But because I got it and I make it and I work hard towards it, but everybody ain't got it like that. And there's work every day hard like that. Same as me. It's just that I was able to flip my opportunities and get certain places, and opportunities was put in my pathway that I take up on. You know? And I feel like there is no book, there is no conversation, but men also don't get a chance to talk to each other about parenting. I don't go to a father that was a father before me and say, talk to me about being a father.
Correct.
Teach me about your experiences being a father, because you know what I look like? I look soft. I look weak. So Lord, we don't confront that and be like, hey, bro, you know you's a father. I would like to have children, but I ain't know what you're doing. And
why you think it look weak?
because, right, men don't, because another man can say, hey man, I mean, you want to learn about being a father? But just, boy, be a man, boy. I mean, you want to learn to be a father? Responses like that is what we just deal with on a day-to-day basis in a lot of aspects. Even in the work environment, we're very harsh with each other. A man showing any level of like wanting a compassionate conversation with another man about how to do something that needs a gentle surface is a weakness in a man's eyes, or how he feels. Because me coming to you and saying, Future, teach me how to be a father. I ain't know what you're doing, but I want to be a father. I want to have children. Teach me the good and the bad. Because you want to tell me, you, big man, what you doing? You ain't planning on getting children? Which is another thing that's big for men and women. A lot of people like asking people if they ain't planning to get children. Some people can't.
Yeah.
It's a very insensitive comment or conversation.
We're going to keep that to themselves.
You know what I mean? That is, but for me...
Or you just get one and say, when you ain't get the other one now?
Yeah.
Like...
And both of it happened in reverse to me. Both my younger brother had a child first. My niece is 11 years old. So I'm a father figure to her in its own way, right? But respectfully, I'm not her father.
Right.
My brother is her father. But I see how that went, and I help in my way of giving. I'm a great uncle. But when I get up on a plane and move and get to work, it's a little bit different. Then my other brother had my nephew. My nephew is a year and change older than my son. I see that happen. I get my son. Me and my son's mother had a good friendship, a good bond, and everything. We was cool. We was irie. Everything was good. But we had a child. It went into like the blender. Thing get crazy because both of we gotta learn to be a parent. And then I had a child not too long after. With some boy, great bond, great experiences, get up whirlwind in the blender, in the midst of COVID. So now I got to provide, help provide for the family I got before, which is my family, my brothers, my niece, my nephew, my mother, and them, and then providing for these two households that. And I do it all wrong. Like truth, I do all of that all wrong because I wasn't true to myself, right? Because I get these two beautiful children and I didn't know how to handle these women. I didn't know how to I didn't know how to respect women the right way or mothers the right way. I respect my mother because I'm my mother. But my past on how women was treated and how I saw women treated started to come in my future. Like, as a provider, so what you begging me for? You can't really dictate my life if I was a provider. And it's such a bad attitude that a lot of us carry. Because we feel that because we put a little bread on the table, that we ain't got no compassion. We ain't got no share of love. We ain't got, and the way we think we respect him because we providing and you might pay for a little nails or something, but respect is deep. Respect can't be surfaced. It's not show and tell. Respect is deep. And I had to learn that, and I still learning it. You know what I mean? Two amazing children. Two beautiful experiences. But at the same time, I had to, and this was in the beginning, learning love and learning how to be loved. I didn't know that. I didn't get handed that card. I didn't have a lot of relationships going. I had a lot of girlfriends. You understand? I mean, out my road, I was outside. You know, I always had girls. That don't mean I know how to treat women. That don't mean that I know how to respect and honor motherhood and women. And I still trying to learn that. I'm trying to navigate a respectful way to do that, whether I'm with them or not, so that the children can see that the father, their father, respects the mother, even if in a relationship or not. And that is some of the things that I find a lot of us fall short on. Once we're not in a relationship, we do not continue to carry respect for our partner. Even if there was traumas that happened in the relationship, at some point of time, you gotta find a way to iron them out or chill them away and move on and learn from that mistake how to continue respect, because the children ears listening and eyes always watching, and them don't miss nothing.
What do you think that is stopping that information from coming to us? Or do you think it's a culture thing? Do you think is it based on where we live, the culture? What is really, because there's a part of the world where it's run a little differently. So meaning that families are more together, the values are there, the respect is different. They don't have the same struggles that we be talking about now. What do you think is the main differences there?
I do think that culturally it plays a big role. I mean, this happens all over the world, right? Different religions and different ways that they deal with things and how they look at it help in different environments and different communities in their own way, in good or bad. But for me, culturally, you know, I grew up in an environment of outside partying, having a good time, a good-looking guy. I would like to call myself. You know what I mean? And in that, it's glorified to a man to have more than one woman. In our space and environment. It's not glorified for a woman.
It's degrading for.
It's degrading. But it's all cool. When I was growing up, going to school, the elder kids at my school or the men that was going out of school, I come up under them and it was like, that's the thing. If you ain't got a girlfriend or two or three from one school to the other, you ain't saying nothing. And you got to prove yourself. The peer pressure is on. So I would never train and teach my son that is something to be proud of. because I don't think that now at my age. To have multiple women or have a lot of girlfriends or girlfriend to girlfriend and not creating structure or stability in your mindset. Of course, there's trial and error that he has to go through. But I will not glorify it how it was glorified to me. It was applauded. I was a player. Dan Dada.
Right.
The boss. But that to me only fueled me to not really learn love early enough or understand love.
So is it that we have to be more intentional about these things and be proactive in putting these values into our children? Because if we allow the world to do it, that's what will gonna happen. It can happen where they can more get tied into the culture. Because let me put it this way: we got music that is glorifying the same things you're talking about, right? So you got movies, you got like images, like all these things. Being a player is, popular. You get popular in school.
It is.
And it's almost like a survival thing where you come into a community, you want to feel like you belong. You don't want to be left out.
For sure.
So I feel like we will have to intentionally like put them values in early, because it's the world versus the parent.
I agree with that, and there's those that want to, because some parents, some mothers, I mean, a lot of people blame the father side with this player thing, but mothers is do it.
Right.
Oh, I got a good looking son, but he ain't get a lot of girlfriends. You start wrong already, because when you do that,
It's called a heartbreaker. He can be a heartbreaker.
He can be a heartbreaker.
He can remain hearts.
But you don't want to be.
Boys, but we don't do it with girls, though. You know that?
Don't do it with girls. Right?
We don't do that with girls. Like,
we don't do it with girls, right?
With little boys, I find like we would. I mean, it's sad to say, but we sexualize little boys, right? And with little girls now, it can look weird to the world, but we make it natural for boys. But then wonder why boys grow up being
because the stereotype
perverts or whatever.
Because the stereotype is so strong, right? Of what a man or a boy should be or should be doing, right? It is fall down that way, like, and I hear it and see it with a lot of mothers as well. Mothers don't want to be played. They don't want to be, heartbroken. But the same thing you said, he can be a little heartbreaker. He ain't got a lot of girlfriends. Mothers do it too. It's not just fathers. And when they think about it, you already coursing the training direction for this young man to be a gallus. So you got, all of us as one got to know how to gauge and control that in the best light ever. And I'm not saying that we can navigate it in the right way where we stop them from being it, because if they're gonna be, they're gonna be.
Right.
You understand? But
no, don't promote it.
But it doesn't have to be promoted. And for me, I mean, I got a lot of friends that can probably say, that shit talking about he ain't gonna he teach his son to be a gallus. But the truth is, if I just left he be, and the way he look, he can be a gallus normally. But that way trying to glorify to I want him to respect women, how he can grow to respect his mother. You know what I mean? And going back to that is that, like, you don't gotta be in a relationship with the other parent. You could co-parent with respect. And I will say this, I feel and fall real short at that because I had that in my life. So I learning that now. I might look pretty punny outside with the social media, but I got real enough faults. And we're the last 4 to 5 years learning to parent, learning to be a proper person, an individual with respect that I ain't even know how far respect the stretch. And honor. I fall short and feel big time. One of my biggest feelings in life is becoming a parent. And one of my biggest achievements is becoming a parent at the same time. Because the learning skill is real. It ain't like through an event and you don't make little money and you come back the next day. You can't do that with children. Children and adults that take a little headache, pain reliever and get the next day and go. These is real people that you are navigating their real life as they grow up. And if you want them to be better in any form that you might have fall short in life, you got to know how to navigate that change. And that start with you changing yourself.
Right.
You understand? Because change is evident and change could be good or bad. You know, and as I said earlier, changing drinking alcohol for me was great. It was a huge impact on a better person who I was. But I lost a lot of my environment and my community that I would hang out with and be around. So I had to gauge a new lifestyle. And that was 7 years ago. You know, it's a whole new world.
There's the part where people, because I take a lot of self-reflection, self-awareness. I take it's like looking in the mirror and looking at yourself, not physically, but really like looking to see what your faults are. Because some people don't believe that nothing wrong with them. The problem is everybody else. So first you gotta like become self-aware. You got some cases where you become self-aware, but you're still scared about changing. Because when you change, it means then that a lot of the things in God change that you may not be ready for. Like the environment. Some people can't see past the environment because they don't know, they never is unknown. Because you land on the unknown. So then what happens where you got this person in this environment, they know that they need to change, but it's just a little bit more comfortable because they don't know anything outside of that environment. You get how that person could be stuck.
Yeah, of course. I've been stuck that way too.
Right.
You know, it's procrastination of self, right? Because, all right, my biggest fault is procrastination, right? And I'm not a big procrastinator, but in self-awareness, self-betterment, self-doing, you know, getting in the gym, working out, eating better, procrastinate on a lot of them things. You know, getting more rest, getting more sleep, being aware. Like, the reason how I say that, and you know, when you say look in the mirror, right, you gotta look deep and depth. Depth is important, and when you're looking in the mirror, right? Because what you put on the outside, it's like this. A lot of people like to wash the car first and don't get the inside clean. You pull up by the valley and say, just wash the outside, cause you got a rush. Me, I pull up, clean the inside. If you don't get to the outside, everything cool. Cause I could drive a dirty car on the outside, but what inside does affect me? Cause I drive it inside the car. So that's how I gotta look at me.
People more interested in how it looked to other people.
The exterior. You understand? I gotta look at me. People is paint the outside of the house when Christmas come and you walk inside, they got dirty dishes in the kitchen. That don't work for me. I had to learn that. So that I always look at myself. When I look in that mirror and looking at my eyes and the glasses I gone and the jeans and pants and shoes I gone, I could buy them and put them on any day new as I feel like. But inside I can't purchase that. I can't purchase the changed person that I trying to be inside. So you gotta look deeper. You understand? Everybody got a core, but not everybody got a six-pack. You see me? So that's how I just look at myself a lot of time, and I trying to get better at that and become aware, and also how I deal with people around me. Because as much as I'm a liked person, I ain't an easy person either. Because I'm militant when I'm ready. Even my colleagues and them, when I come to do my job, my work ethic is impeccable to me. I come and get a job that I can get done. Anybody will ask you that.
Yeah, you're definitely a worker. Like anytime I see you page, it's like you working and you're afraid to like get your hands dirty. I see you doing replacing potholes.
Yeah, a couple potholes, but
in Second Street, First Street,
helping out our that company that's fixing roads. You know, I learned a lot of that from my mother. If I used to applaud anybody in my life, it's my mother. You know, I gotta give her all of her flowers, because even though I had a stepfather around and everything, my mother still in some way was a single mother to me, because there was a lot of unfairness in my household. This might sound funny when I say this, but I was the black sheep in the household. So my stepfather at that time had a son and a daughter. That was one, the daughter was older than me, the son is the same age as me, right? If he get $100 to go in town and buy something, he's get 20. It was never the same. But I was a hustler. So I went in town with $500, one way or the other. What happened with my brother, at that time, who would have been my stepbrother, but we brothers. That's the longest sibling I had, or have. Even though we ain't blood related, that is my longest sibling, because he came before any of we had siblings. We would always split and share, because we grew up together from 4 years old, and that household separated when I was 20, like 17 years. We grew up together. To this day, if he tell me he want my shirt off my back, he would get it, because we raised like that. But he was tell you, it's a hustler. People talk about making money ain't hard. Fixing this to know you gotta go there and get and do is what's the difficult part. And letting you pride. What people think is that pride is dropped when you go and sell water by the side of the road when you was driving a nice car the day before. I ain't got that in me. My pride don't break. I still proud. I out on the road selling water in style. My pride don't break because of those things. My hands could get dirty because I know what dirty hands could get a clean house. That's what I want. You know what I mean? So my work ethic is driven. And I also saw what my work ethic has done for my house and home before I even have children. And now that I have children, how they reap the reward of that. And I'm proud of that. That's one thing I would say, I'm proud of that. You know what I mean? So, and I've been in so many different jobs and businesses. So many different avenues of work. And tried so many different things to succeeding, that it has given me a good way of being able to do anything and everything. You understand? One thing I might struggle with is behind the computer. Might take me a little bit longer, but if I gotta do it, I gotta do it. You're saying that's the new step up for me now in my industry and my business is getting behind the computer screen and becoming more efficient with that. But
because you be more hands-on.
A lot more hands-on. But as the age clicks up, you know what I mean? Not that I can't get it done, but I don't want to abuse my body and myself like that the same way. So, you know, and I could evolve with what I'm working towards learning.
Correct.
And every day to me is a learning experience in whatever you do. And from you can't open your mindset to be learning every day. We don't know it all. I don't care how long you've been in a trade or a business, you don't know it all. Every day is changing.
And
as I said to you earlier, we've been in industries like this for a long, long time. And I tell you that I applaud seeing the younger generations that are in it now. And I applaud that their short experiences brings new light, whether it's new style of using equipment, new education to switching a little soundboard. You know, they have a fresh mind to learning. So some of the things that they are learning and knowing, we ignore because we's dinosaurs to this thing. So why are you gonna do it new sometimes?
Yeah.
And they must help refresh you as long as you allow that to come to your mind to learn. You gotta learn. You gotta be open to learning.
Stay a student.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you seem like such a busy person. How you just handle silence when it comes?
It's hard. Silence hard because my life is loud. Right? And I'm a loud person, generally. And I just get peace in loud environments. I just get silence, funny enough, in loud environments. And I think better in loud environments because that's what I know. So I could go in a loud gym and work out, blow some steam. My ideas can come to me. Create new ideas. This is a good avenue. My mind ticking. Everything in the background is noisy. I can't hear it. Right? I could go and stand up in New York, Fifth Avenue, horns blowing, and just stand there for about 10 minutes. Just gaze a little bit so I catch myself and things just come to me in them environments, them spaces.
That's interesting.
It's a little bit different for me. Silence is hard because I ain't a big sleeper neither. I suffer insomnia for all of my life, right? So when I get a good night's sleep, that's a 4 and 5 hour. And funny enough, I was talking to somebody yesterday and he was saying, you know, all these older entrepreneurs and business people, them is get 4 or 5 hours sleep and be working good. So when you get older, it just means you need less sleep. I said, no, they're conditioned because they've only been allowed that for all their life.
Right.
So 4 and 5 hours is what they, but you really need your 8 hour.
Yeah, you do.
But they're just conditioned to it.
Yeah. The body trained for that.
I condition like that. I could go a week straight with 2 hours and burn through and do 16-hour, 19-hour days. I ran through a lot of people in my company and work think I'm a machine a lot of the time because I can get the next morning and still be the same person as yesterday.
I mean, I was actually thinking, where do men go to talk about these things, to learn about these things? And normally, if a man going through something, the man said, man, we're going to get a drink. And that would be their way of expressing and talking about it. And that might be at maybe a party or a bar or something like that, you know, and which I don't know. I mean, it could work, but is that always the healthy environment to talk about any kind of things? What's your input on that?
Of recent, when I have realized that I do not open up about a lot, I have some colleagues that work with me. And it's kind of like box truck talking. When we're doing an equipment pickup day and I choose who PAs with me or who works with me very specific. A lot of my guys that work for me is island oriented, you know what I mean? So we carry a similar vibe no matter where he is in the world. But I got some close colleagues that have grown amongst the years that what I have done is a lot of time I open up my ear to hear people. I don't say much about myself. Just give good advice. Some advice I ain't even taking for myself. It's great advice. But I ain't talk to myself like that. When I realized opening up a little bit and like allowing that platform to open up and like, yo, brethren, like, I'm going through something here. I want reason to you about it, but from I feel like you cast a little judgment upon me, you know, you can just back off, you know what I mean? If we's really true friends, you're going to hold this down. Because I lost a lot of people around me in terms of like, not that I ain't my friends still, but I ain't in the party atmosphere anymore.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me come to a party for a drink and let me tell you about how my life struggling right now.
Yeah.
Because when 2 drinks getting it, we eyes wandering upon somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Distractions.
So, distractions. So as I call it, like, it's like you're doing a photo shoot and you got to pick up equipment. It's a whole day of pickups. You're in the box truck, you're driving. You want this person in a small space, quiet space, and you're talking. And you let out some things. And you speak, and you gauge up. I learn to gauge people too, because you can't talk to everybody and tell people things. But what I learn is that I'm not frightened of my past. I don't fear what I've done in my past, and I don't fear what's happened to me in my past. I don't hide it anymore. I don't care to. So whatever I say, if you take it and run road with it, it don't affect me.
Right.
I say in confidence, so I know how to deal with you, but and I learned that a lot of men there waiting to get open up to, or somebody open up to them, or them open up to somebody. A lot of men waiting for somebody to got something for them to relevantly talk to them about. Like you just gotta say one relevant thing to somebody and they, well, brother,
Yeah.
I in this predicament too.
Yeah.
Or similar.
Yeah.
Or not even, but you know, allowing that space. And you know, I learned with maturity and not having a lot of people around to talk that open up to. Because I would say it like this, I dare for my brothers, but tough love is how I would share love, right? So I get gentle ear a lot of time, and I realize that me and my brothers end up stretching away. And my brothers mean the world to me. I used to look at them and applaud them. Them is fathers before me. So them is fathers that I gotta look at and applaud. You understand? Whether I was around to help or not, my brothers mean everything to me. So when I see that distance, because I got this father figure role going on, and I, you know what I mean? Like, we gotta get work, I do thing, get too rough and tough and hard. And then realize all my brother want to tell me is, yo, bro, I struggling here with this here. And all I want to tell my brother is, bro, I struggling, bro. But we ain't doing that because tough love all the time. So I start to try to come down off of that energy and that level that was pushing people that wanted to open up to me about a bit more, or me open up to them and allow my platform to come out and give my reason or my feeling and be like, because it's my mother I would turn to most of the time, but my mother can't help with all of my problems and issues. You understand? My mother can't see my angle all the time. So that's why, like, even in a recent episode, I went a reason with my mother, but my stepfather was there. I mean, my stepfather started to talk about a scenario he went through in life, and it bring me to tears because I was going through the same type of scenario as a father. And it bring me to tears, and he allowed me to open up and tell me, Rasta, you could cry, brother. Just because you're the toughest lion in this jungle here don't mean that you cannot cry. Don't mean that you can't come down here and when you mother in here and come and talk. That helped me so much. And that's a recent episode. Because that tell me that I could also allow people to come to me with that. Right? Because I could take people's, I could be a listener here and take people's behind it don't really sink me. Because that's be a lot of time too. Sometimes you could be a supportive person to others, but then wait it start to sink you. Because you got stuff to let out, but you ain't letting out, but you taking in theirs. And the energy that them feeding you, you holding that energy. And it's a sack of sand. You understand? But you're already sinking.
Right. Yeah.
So you gotta get off too. And when my old man tell me so, I mean, I cried like a burst, don't cry and then like a kid that hurt his knee. And let him know, listen, nobody ever explain a situation like you explain. And I would have never look at you and tell myself, you went through that situation.
Yeah.
And I related. And that meant so much for me because me as a grown man reaching up to my 40s, all my life I had nobody to do that way.
Yeah.
To open up to and say, well, shh. See, when I walk away from there, I get in the vehicle, right? And even though I had some tears coming on my eyes, I laugh because it was still a joyous moment to know you. I get to express myself.
It's a release.
And I did not feel judged. I did not feel weak. I did not feel like I'm not Kaddesh, the big bad wolf, that tough. My brother tell me one time I had collapse. One time, I went to pick up this trailer and my back gave out, right? And I passed out from the pain. My youngest brother was there. The ambulance had to come. I was on a cane for 2 weeks. You know what my brother tell me? I never see you that weak in my entire life. To the point where I look at him and know he never see me as a weak person. And when he said weak, like down on the floor, can't stand up. My leg start working from the pain. And at that moment, I tell myself, I just show strength all the time. But inside me, I want burst. I want to express myself. I mean, you had a similar conversation in the interview we kind of do before. We are like getting that out. And a lot of things that helped me to start taking care of myself a little bit more. I start going to get facials. I start to go and get massages and treat myself. And do my beard and my hair more and take care of myself a little bit. Even not like I didn't use so nice up before. But I take it serious. Products I'm using on my skin and them kind of things. So I start to learn to care myself more, not just because of material, but deal with myself. Also, like this year, I realized that I was having some gut problems. I started to change my diet. And that helped me as well.
That's important.
Because stress and a lot of us go through depression and don't even know we're in depression.
Because it feels normal.
Because it feels normal.
You've been in it that long that you feel like that's how you're supposed
and
to feel.
I went through some serious depression in the last few years because I was trying to change who I is and navigate to be a father and be a better person and realizing that you all along use this person, but no, you become a father. Any person you really want to be. You don't want to get rid of that person specifically, but you want to navigate that being you is to transcript now as a better light for the youth that you have around you, especially children. Because like in my niece's eyes, I was one of the greatest human beings in the world. And she's who made me start drinking. Because she was 3 going 4 years old, and I realized she's the first girl to be family too.
Right.
A lot of boys. She's the first girl to be family, so she became my mother's best friend. But it was like,
Your mother got company now.
got company now. But it was like, this little girl just look at me and like, I see so much that I needed to change in my life and in my world to become a better person for she and her own. Then after that, now 4 years later, or 3 to 4 years later, I become a father. I realized I changed that 7 years ago. You know, God changed a lot more about me.
Yeah.
And it's important to start to come to that realization without sinking yourself and then telling yourself, I'm a terrible person. And I'm going into that depth of depression that you're beating yourself up. Because some of your things might be negative in your life, but you got either get rid of that or translate that in a way or transfer that in a way in a positive direction.
It's important to not let these negative things define who we are.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first step. Because obviously you think, okay, going through this, I feel this way and that, and then you believe that you're flawed and that and then you start to define yourself as that. So that's the first step, to understand that don't define you. That could change, right? And it don't have to change. It may not change immediately, because there's a difference between revolution and evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Revolution is happening, one time, right? But when you're evolving, it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think you gotta have grace and have patience with yourself. The other thing that I have learned is that your problems are not unique. Mm-hmm. So when a man out there sort of saying, he know how to express this or share this, and this is how you went to your stepfather, and he don't look like a man that would be going through the same thing. Mm-hmm. That's to show you that your problem is not just yours.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So when you start to open up more, you start to realize, and then you don't feel like a victim as much. Because like, it's almost like, all right, cool, I ain't the only body.
Yeah.
That's like you going through COVID and you on lockdown. Lockdown was a little easier for us because everybody was going through it. Mm-hmm. If you had to be the only body that locked down inside your house, then you would take that different. You would take that so different.
For sure. The difference between COVID and jail.
Exactly.
Jail use only a handful.
So when you realize that other people actually going through the same thing that you're going through, it makes it a little bit more, you could tolerate it a little bit more, and you could be a little bit more hopeful with it because, you're going through it together. So that's my comment to what you're saying. So I want to hear from you. What would you say to people that are struggling, Bajan men, that going through similar things? Like, what is that for? How to break that ice before you go there, right? Because because I want to go through the tactics that you went through, because you start to take care of yourself in a different way. So you start to think wellness, where a lot of we don't do that. We just think about, we put on some clothes, put on some cologne, and go outside. We sweet off. We wash the car. We wash the outside the car and not the inside, right? So you first gotta stop and say, all right, look, how do I feel? Because we be so busy, we so caught up, and then we on internet, on the phones and everything. We distracted. So we ain't even getting a chance to settle and be silent and find out how you really feel. That's why people don't know they're depressed. That's how people don't know that they got gut issues. And that's how some people don't know that they're getting just because they're moving.
You gotta be efficient. You gotta stay active to survive.
To survive. So how can we hold peace first of all to really assess and diagnose how we feel?
That's an interesting one, because let me say this here. People gotta take a moment and figure out when their brain and heart works and coexists in a way and the space that could work, right? Without punishing themselves. So when I said, I remember saying low spaces, I think better. My heart is beat differently, right? Because I just remember passion for certain things. And low spaces help with that because that's when my mind thinking about it. And I try to match it too and don't distract myself by thinking too much. Just your brain can spin a lot of times. Sometimes you gotta slow that down, right? You could drive a fast car at a slower speed. Sometimes you gotta slow it down, and it's be hard because you only got short spaces of time to get this little bit of peace. And I find people don't go to nature enough if you got it. I find people don't find something to do. We don't, like big men can ride bicycles down the street. Ain't anything wrong with that. Like there's a lot of different things that you can do. A lot of people look into like gyms and stuff like that to start to breathe it out. But a lot of people just look for things that can get out aggression rather than letting in peace. So it might seem peaceful for you when you let out your aggression in the gym or ride a motorcycle, but it don't necessarily mean it brings in peace to you. So sometimes you just gotta take a moment, and you also gotta find what we just feel like is choosing friends, and people to be around. We feel like that because we think like as a drinking point, as you say, a friend pick you up, carry you for a drink and a party to get your mind off of something. But that's just a substitute or a voice for the short period of time. You need to find spaces and places that can got longevity to that time. Mm-hmm. You understand? A lot of people think therapy or whatever the case, but they got different forms of therapy. This is therapeutic for me. Mm-hmm. You understand? I would say big up my mom with her gong baths and sound healing. Very therapeutic. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Go and get a massage. You don't go wait till your girlfriend massage your shoulder. Go and pay $150, $200 for massage. Mm-hmm. Jordans don't even cost that. I mean, Jordans cost more than that.
More than that, yeah.
You know what I mean? Go like...
Or a bottle of alcohol.
But, I mean, you come down, baby, you going to spend more than that in the club. But go and get a massage and then come and drink the drink. You know what I'm saying? But you got to find different avenues. We're too repetitive. And stepping out of the box doesn't mean stepping out of the box of work and business. It's you yourself stepping out of the box for better. Mm-hmm. So, find something else to do. Go for a hike, go to the beach and actually get in the water. Don't just go because you look good on the beach.
Right.
Go and spend time. Some people turn to religions. Mm-hmm. Some people turn. I would never tell somebody that's where they're going to go. Because that ain't me.
Right. Yeah,
I'm not that religious to say that you have to go to a church. But if that works for you, go there. Mm-hmm. But find spaces and avenues. Do something different. Mm-hmm. Go and see the world. Not just on social media. Visit an island that is 30 minutes away.
Broaden your horizon.
And jump in that sea. Mm-hmm. It's the same sea, but in a different angle. I just mean like you got to find different avenues and routes to understand yourself a little bit more and what you like. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we so repetitive. Our lives in Barbados, and for a long time mine was go work, go party, go home. Go drink, go line, go home. Your friends and your spaces is the same thing. You got to find different... Barbados is a beautiful island. Beautiful. How many people gone to Harrison's Cave recently? How many people gone to Animal Flower Cave recently? And learn more. Because you might not be using it because you want to learn how the rock cut, But you're using it because you want to separate your mind from what is bothering you to think about something else. And with education, it can help. Because you might learn something that jumps out to you.
Yeah.
You understand? You might bring a man in the studio to work here with you. And the only thing he do is plug in this mic. And he realized that is what I want to do in my life. Mm-hmm. But he was down on the beach selling beach chairs.
Right.
But just that warm, try something different.
Yeah.
Helps.
So burst out the bubble.
Burst out the bubble. The same thing, get out the box, whatever you care about. I would say social media is a great thing in its pros and cons. Don't depend on that to experience life. You understand? Because that's a lot of time what we is do. We gotta prove something by being on social media. So we scroll social media to make we life up. Get outside. Do something different. Go to a library, read a book. Whatever it is that tickles the fancy, go and do. But it don't gotta be repetitive. It don't gotta be the same. You understand? Because and in any form, business and success can't just base off of the same thing.
Yeah.
You can build a routine, you can build a way, but in this growing, because time faster now. Life is faster now. Efficiency is faster now. So you gotta get up to the time all the time.
Speed.
You know what I mean? So to me, it's like, yo, and then also it's like, if you need somebody to talk to, find somebody to talk to. And don't fear what you express. And if that person, because we got a bad mentality here that if somebody show a level of sanity and character, we friend until we friend. You know what I mean? But when this gets sent on Instagram and thing, no, people can say, you hear what Kaddesh said? And send it whether it's negative or positive for them. But to me, don't matter.
Right.
Don't really care how the outside world perceives Kaddesh as a person.
Yeah.
I growing and going and respecting myself to the best of my ability as I am in the life cycle of school. I am teach by life. You understand? So I going with that. So however you judge me, get along.
Right.
But as long as there's a good person out there and a good human out there, and I try to show that I being a better human, I should be rewarded with at least a small clap or a tap on my own shoulder for that. And if you don't want to do it, then fine.
Cool. I can get the applause here.
I can take it from here, man. I like this space.
We get started.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great, man. But I want to end that point by saying I do believe that your voice matter. The things that you touch on, men need to talk about more and do a deep dive on, and you should consider being a leader in that. As this, it don't gotta be nothing fancy, but curate a space that men, like-minded people and men could come and talk and even learn something from you, and you might learn something from them. Iron sharpens iron, and then it could start there. But somebody gotta start it.
I agree. I mean, and to be
And
honest,
this conversation could be that starter.
That could be that start. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is something that has been in mindset for a long period of time, and as I gauge myself coming back to the island a little bit more, and being here more work related or whatever, I'd be able to build a platform to work on that with timing, you know, for a better space, because I see that more and more as I grow that is necessary, you know, and especially not just the younger society, but even in our age groups and older.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I see that, man. I figure it can happen.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do before we close off, as I say, we can go and bring you back because I still want to talk about events and the businesses and the work.
Yeah.
But I got this thing where the community writes some gems and sent them in. So the guest is going to pull from this bag randomly. So I want you to pull and read it out loud.
All right.
And the person should tag the name. So let's mention the person. Yeah.
Got you. All right.
And that's yours.
This person hasn't tagged their name.
Oh, okay.
Know that you are going to go as far as your efforts takes you. So never sleep on yourself. Invest that time and money.
Okay. Good. That's for you, buddy. Put it in your pocket and roll
I
it.
like this one.
Yeah. All right. So I can just lighten up a little bit before you left. What's one word to describe Barbados?
Beautiful.
One Bajan saying that you live by. You could say, even if you could say.
You're
A song that describes your mood lately.
Woy. Funny enough, when I said woy, That's a Jordan English saying. Big up Jordan English, though.
Big up.
I got real love for that youngster for sure. A real respect. Want to Be Loved by Bob Marley. Don't know if that's the name of the song, but
Got you.
that's the song.
I know the song.
You know, I feel like that's relatable. I got a few. My playlist have been a bit scrambled recently, you know.
Where was the last place that you felt peace?
With my children, like with them is give me peace. My children is give me peace. Every moment. Nap time is my favorite time because I don't sleep well. And my children lay next to me, it's like a sleeping pill. I feel at peace. My children is bring a lot of peace to me. Because when I see in them eyes, I know that reflection of me in the good light that them is see me is to build a better person for myself so they grow to know me as a good person. You understand? And I would never hide my history from them. But they would know me in the present to the future of who I is.
Correct. All right, Kaddesh, if there's one last thing that you would like to share with the viewers and the listeners, what that would be?
Log on. Follow and subscribe. I've never said that in my life, so I always wanted to. But for everybody out there, like, go get it. Don't procrastinate. Don't hide your feelings and emotions too much that it make you crumble inside. If you need help, find help. Ask for it. Don't hide who you are, and don't get caught up in the pretentious of what a media might project you to be, or will you want yourself to be out there. Be real to yourself, and even when you feel like you're falling in a fake line, you could always come back. You could always rejuvenate yourself and revitalize who you are to be the person that you want to project to be. And don't fault yourself for mistakes, because that's just building blocks to your growth. You know what I mean? That's the truth.
Nice. What's next? What's next with Kaddesh?
For Kaddesh, well, I can rush over here because I got a little renovations to do. Down at the club zoo to make sure that Friday night we open and running and well, which we are. Other than that, really and truly spending this summer, focusing on myself, my children, and growth, putting some building blocks to my house and home, and directing my energy to different avenues and different placement in life, as I said a little bit earlier, about getting into the computer world a little bit differently so that my business could grow in that aspect. And, enjoying life. I working for 20 plus, 30 years, I finally grown. So, like, just enjoying life, them kind of things, and buying the things that I worked so hard for, and enjoying that and getting outside.
Yeah. That's good, man. I mean, we didn't get to talk about the businesses, but I felt like there was a lot of value in what you came here and shared today. I don't know if it's more value than the business because we ain't heard about it yet, but whatever it is, we appreciate what you just shared.
For sure, man.
Sure. And I think that is going to do very well for others.
That's what we hope it to be.
All right, and that is a wrap. Cut.
Woo!
That was good.
Y'all don't give a rap clap. Y'all can't work for me,
You don't do that? Oh.
Clap. Rap, I might job it back.
This project is made possible in part by the Cultural Industries Development Fund of the National Cultural Foundation of Barbados.